everybody. Welcome to the podcast, Out of the Well, where young adults take a swing to discover the deeper meaning of life. Hi everybody, welcome to Out of the Well, episode 4, and today we will be speaking about education, right? So I have Keith and JJ here with me today, and my name is Crystal. So I think without further ado, I think let's just jump straight in. So yeah, I think all of us here, we receive an education in Singapore, right? So like Keith, what are your thoughts, about the Singapore education system?
Yeah, actually for me, I would say the education system in Singapore is stressful, because since a young age, and especially now that I'm a founder of a tuition agency, right? So I meet many parents almost every single day, and I have parents that call me at 11 p.m. Believe me or not, and they will tell me about how stressful they are with worrying about their kids' education, and some of them are even P2, just P3 only, So in essence, I believe that Singapore's education system is one of the reasons why we as a country have succeeded. But it also has a other side to it, which is that it gives immense stress to the students and the kids living in Singapore. And that has a profound impact on the way we view academics, maybe the way we view life as well. So I've met many students who are under immense stress, even though they're just primary 6, primary 5.
Yeah.
I've seen students cry in front of me because of how stressed they are with the tests that they have coming up, maybe the next week or something. And most of the time it's motivated by fear. They really fear that they disappoint the parents. They really fear that, something bad is going to happen to them if, let's say, they don't get a certain grade. So that, to me, is my opinion of the current education system right now. I think it's great. It's doing something. It's high quality for sure. However, I also believe there can be more done in terms of managing the stress of the students.
Yeah. At that age, right? Maybe if you were try to bring back time, when you were at that age, was it stressful for you, or how do you take it?
Yeah. So I actually have ADHD. So ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactiveness Disorder, and my parents, right, at that time always met the principal. So the principal and primary school period, principal and my friends they're good friends and the reason is because I was always causing a lot of problems in school.
Yeah.
One example I can give is at primary 3, I used to go down to the dentist and off his light while he's doing the cleaning of the teeth.
Oh my god.
Yeah, his name is Dr. Ang, I still remember. So, Dr. Ang, if you're watching this, thank you for having patience in me. I don't know if you'll ever see this video, but very sorry. I was a kid that off your, So at the time I was causing a lot of trouble in school, and my PSLE I did not do that well. So it's quite interesting how I became so passionate about education, and until becoming a tutor and a teacher as well. Yeah, so yes, it was stressful for me. However, I also believe that Singapore has many great teachers as well. And every time when we think about the person that, at least for me, when we think about the people that impacted you the most, a lot of times it's the teachers. So one example I can give is someone like Steve Jobs. Right. So Steve Jobs actually has said in his biography before, and he said that if it wasn't for a teacher that taught him back in maybe the 9th grade or something, he would have already been in jail by now, because he was such a rebel at the age, and it was that teacher that really changed his life. So in conclusion, in a sense, I believe that teachers actually have the power to change lives.
Yeah, I think also similar to like what Keith has mentioned, I think teachers are important. I think they impact the way you think about life and how interested you are in education. In that sense, I think I've met several teachers. For example, my Chinese teacher back in primary school. There was this one teacher that was very, very fierce, right? Yeah. And then it worked well for me because I was so scared, right? And then I did 习字 very, very religiously, which is why my Chinese was okay, right, in secondary school. But then it didn't work for some of my friends because they were too scared. And then every single time, they just shut down when it comes to Chinese lessons, because they find that no matter how much effort they put in, right, it doesn't work. So I say that the work of a teacher is really not that straightforward. Really, it's not like one formula fit all. Then especially when it comes to Singapore education system, whereby it's 1 to 40. It's crazy, how are you expected to teach everyone individually? Unlike tuition centers, of course you can get a smaller group size. You're able to cater to everyone's needs, right? I think being an MOE teacher is really, really, really challenging.
Actually, I agree to whatever you have mentioned. The different motivators that actually work on different individuals. Some people respond better to positive reinforcement, You know, when you praise them and say, oh, you're doing well, you know, like keep it up, you know, doing a good job, you're good at this certain aspect, right? Yeah, so they will actually they actually feel better, and they actually push themselves to work harder.
Yep.
Right. On the flip side is it doesn't work for some of them. You know, like this positive reinforcement, it may actually get them more complacent, right? So whatever you said, like fear, that's what motivates you. You know,
Yeah.
like since young, you know, and I believe even personally as well. Like since young, like my biggest motivation was actually fear. You know, the fear of like not handing in homeworks, the fear of not getting a good grade. You know, like what will I say to my parents? You know, how can I explain myself? Right, all this sort of motivation. But along the way, we sort of is able to sort of understand them, and then we are able to use them towards our own advantage. You know, so use them to help us to motivate us to do certain things, right? Yeah, like I can make myself like I can sort of amplify that fear.
Yep.
You know, if I just dwell on the consequences of not handling a homework, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, what's the point of it though? You see what I mean? Like if the whole goal of education is just to meet a certain deadline,
Right.
Or I think it defeats the purpose. Honestly, it's not a conventional mindset, I believe, because especially coming from a teacher myself,
Right.
being in the system, you see the rigidity of a system that makes it successful, but
Right.
also to a certain extent defeats the purpose.
Okay.
Let me explain a little bit about what I mean.
Yeah.
So when it comes to education, right, we have to think about what is the meaning of education, right? Because
Right.
we want to learn something, and as kids, right, we all want to learn something. We all have this innate ability to absorb. If you look at a 1-year-old kid or even a 2-year-old kid, right, you're gonna see the immense ability of a young human being to copy, to learn, to mimic.
Yes,
right?
correct.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I used to scold one of my nephews, the older one, and the younger one at 1-year-old, 2-year-old, he will learn what I said and he will scold me. he will say things like, I beat you.
Okay.
2 years old, you know.
Okay.
So that is their immense ability to learn
Yes.
actions and learn
Yes.
things and words and all that. Now, as a young student, right? Actually, I believe that every student, for example, is interested in science.
Okay.
You have, and every human being has an innate curiosity towards
Right.
learning what is out there, knowing more about the universe.
Yes.
Things like, why is the sky blue? You know.
Yes.
What are black holes?
Yes,
You
correct.
know, why is the sun still burning right now? You know, what
Yeah.
is the sun made out of?
Yes.
So there are tons of questions.
Right.
So what
Right.
I used to do with my kids, or rather my students, not my kids. I don't have any kids, but my students.
In the
yeah,
future.
I don't have my kids. Yeah. So what I do with my students is I ask them to prepare 10 questions every single lesson. So over the week, that's their homework assignment. Imagine that is your homework assignment in school, right? It's not to do a certain assessment.
Okay.
It's really
Yeah.
to think about 10 questions. And every day you just wake up and you kind of think about the kind of questions that you want to ask the teacher, and it gets them excited about the lessons.
Yeah.
So that's for me what I have experienced so far.
Okay. Well, actually, that's a very interesting concept that you come up with. You know, usually for tuition, students will actually dread it. You know, like if it's not for the grade, then what am I here for? You know, like the focus is very grade driven. You know, very result orientated.
Yep.
Right. But what you actually do is it's sort of opening their mind. Yeah, because when you're asking them to ask questions, and I will entertain your question as well.
Yes.
You know, like
very good
usually,
point. Yep.
yeah, usually for teachers in school, right, they will not have this sort of time to entertain everyone's question. You know, so in the way their question is sort of neglected.
Yep.
You know, and in time to come, they will come to this conclusion like, oh, I should not be asking any questions.
Yes.
Right, I should not have all these curiosity, right? Yeah, so like there's this saying that I really agree from you, which is we spend 17 years of our life, you know, trying to fit into this box, which is the education system, right? What they're trying to teach us. But the fact is, when we actually got out of it, then they're actually asking us to think outside the box. Yeah. So that's
Very
yeah.
very ironic. Yeah, but I think from what you said just now earlier about like teachers asking questions, I think yes and no, really depending on the teacher as an individual.
Correct.
I think like based on my experience, really there are teachers who are out there to nurture you, and more often than not, those teachers are generally not your form teacher. I don't know if you realize that, right? So I have a bio teacher, right? Her name is Miss Ching. I don't know if she remembers me because like she has a form class lah, right? I'm not in her form
Maybe
class.
you should watch this video.
Yeah, I should watch this video. I don't know, but I find that like how to say, the way she taught students. If you have sincerity towards your students, right, I think they can feel it, one. Like, it's not regardless of what subject
you feel the passion,
or what role you're playing.
Correct.
If you have sincerity, you will know. And questions also. I think when teachers entertain questions out of your syllabus, any questions, live questions. I remember, I think there was one time like a few group of girls, and we asked her like questions, like you know, like secondary school girl questions, and then she entertained us, right? So she actually took her time out, and from her perspective, she gave us advice, right? Instead of saying like, this is not within my syllabus, don't ask me.
Correct. That's like
and it really helps to build the students' holistic development. Like personality. I think what Keith did with his kids, right? Help his kids not only gain knowledge, but as a person, like I should have curiosity, right? Or like I want to know more as a person, how I want to interact with people.
How to grow.
Yeah, I think it's very important
in different direction.
I think a lot of times we, drawing from my own personal experience, when we grow up, and sometimes we ask questions, and we probably get a bit too annoying to the adults,
correct.
And they will tell us things like, don't ask this kind of question.
Correct.
This question got no answer.
Or they're trying to smoke you, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it's not out of ill intention. It's just they just have no time to entertain. But what that does to a kid, right, at primary school, what it does is it tells them, oh, you know, this question is not a good question. You know, why is the sky blue? Or that's not an interesting question. Maybe it's a stupid question. Or why is the sun still burning right now? Oh, it's a stupid question.
I don't need to know. Why
do you dream? Oh, these are not questions that I should answer. So that's why you realize that as kids grow older, the less questions they have. So when you meet, from my personal experience, when I meet a primary 3 kid, ask about everything. Everything, like dolphins. You know, why is there a hole at the top of a dolphin? Right? So there's a blowhole. You know? And dolphins have lungs. So why is it in the sea but it has lungs? It doesn't make sense. So these are questions that primary 2 kids ask. Primary 6, a lot of my students at primary 6, they try not to move the table too much. You know, they try not to shake the ground because they have this preconceived notion of maybe, you know, some of my questions are not as smart. So I would like to just clarify that I don't think there is such thing as a dumb question or stupid question unless it really comes out of an ill intention. Like basically you just want to disturb the teacher, then then there's a nonsense. But if it's something you're really curious about, we should ask.
I think both of you all have brought in really, really great like inputs in terms of like the current education system that we are in. And I think also taking in mind that, you know, like we are unable to control the education system, and of course for the majority of it, it has really been beneficial for our country, right? I think maybe perhaps like in the next episode, we can actually dive a little bit more into like how we have adapted to the current system and what we find that, you know, are crucial points of like, for example, perhaps like we mentioned earlier, teachers, how they brought this education system to be even better and to help us individually as students, as well as our personal experience.